until she eventually ruptured the ligaments in her knees. People exercise, they don't
Exorcise.
get exorcised.
This has happened like years, maybe 50 years ago. So it's very difficult to put a finger on that and say if that documentary is true.
Then drinking urine, eating bugs. And आपका ligament है.
Welcome back everyone to the Ghost Encounters Unfiltered podcast. Again, हम लोग अभी तक टाइटल नहीं सोचे हैं. जब टाइटल आएगा तो हम ऐड करना चालू कर देंगे. But until now, it's a podcast where we are keeping everything unfiltered when it's coming to our experiences, लोगों के experiences and the cases that we are going to discuss here. Every episode contains one case file जो हमने choose किया है, not necessarily ours, but something that is famous, not famous, infamous and all kind of cases, जिधर हम बैठ के हमारे जो पैरानॉर्मल इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू हैं, जो साइकिक्स के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू हैं, जो डिमोनोलॉजिस्ट के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू हैं, जो एक्सॉर्सिस्ट के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू हैं, वो हम रखते हैं एंड वी काइंड ऑफ डाइसेक्ट द एंटायर केस. Apart from other things that we share from our own experiences of traveling and investigating the paranormal. If you are not interested to watch this on YouTube, मतलब हमारी शक्ल इतनी भी गंदी नहीं है, but in case अगर नहीं अच्छा लगता है, you can listen to it on Spotify, on Ghana and every other podcast platform. And hello, my name is Sarbajit and we have
Pooja.
Savio.
And we are the investigators, researchers, psychics and exorcists and demonologists of the Ghost Encounters team. As you might have seen us investigating some of the most haunted places of the country. And आज का जो केस है, it's quite famous because बहुत सारी movies बन चुकी हैं, बहुत सारी documentaries बन चुकी हैं, बहुत कुछ बन चुका है उसके ऊपर. But it will be shame not to discuss a case like that, considering जो उसके elements हैं, जो भी सारी चीज़ें उसमें involved हैं. Yes, I'm talking about the famous case of Anneliese Michel, या फिर जिसका movie आपने देखा होगा as
Exorcism of Emily
Rose.
Oh, that's what we're discussing.
Yes, and it's a very good story from a movie point of view, but when we see it from a researcher's point of view, things do change. पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू विल चेंज एंड बहुत लोगों का बहुत किस्म के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यूज होते हैं. इन्वेस्टिगेटर्स के अंदर एक इन्वेस्टिगेटर का दूसरा इन्वेस्टिगेटर के साथ नहीं मैच होता है व्हेन इट कम्स टू अ केस लाइक एनालिस मिशेल, एंड आई थिंक इट्स फॉर ऑल द राइट रीजन. सो व्हाट विल हैपन इज एवरी एपिसोड आई एम गोइंग टू रीड आउट द केस फाइल, क्योंकि मुझे गलत नहीं होना है. आई वॉन्ट टू कीप द फैक्ट्स फैक्ट. मुझे 1952 का 1852 नहीं करना है, and that's why I will just read it out. So if you are listening it on Spotify, I think this is the moment you have been waiting for if you are looking for a horror podcast. But I think you are going to miss the background music क्योंकि वो हम नहीं डालने वाले. So here it goes. So Anneliese Michel was born in 1952 in Bavaria. Raised by a devoutly Roman Catholic family, she began to experience seizures at the age of 16. She was eventually diagnosed with epilepsy and put on various medications to help control the convulsions. However, the medications didn't seem to curb her increasingly erratic behavior, and her family began to look for help outside of the traditional medical field. As her symptoms worsened, she developed an extreme aversion to anything symbolic of Christianity. She also reported seeing demonic faces and hearing demons talking to her. An article for Grunge reports that Michel began compulsively doing hundreds of squats and genuflections a day that can account to something like 400 to 600, until she eventually ruptured the ligaments in her knees. Quite obvious. She also reportedly screamed, and began to eat bugs, behaviors that were not abated by the use of doctor-prescribed medications. Reports vary on whose idea it was to perform an exorcism, but some say that Michel demanded it, while others say that it was the mutual decision between her and her family members to get an exorcism done. Whatever the decision was, they finally decided it, and a priest named Ernst Alst, along with Pastor Arnold Renz, the two men set about exorcising Michel from her demons. Now, even before the exorcising part could come, again exorcising, part, people exercise. They don't
Exorcise.
get exorcised. That's the difference actually. But even before the exorcism part could happen, there were other things that were also happening, including and I think that's the most मतलब अजीब सा फील करने वाला thing is she drinking her own urine to that fact. And Anneliese Michel would eventually endure 67 separate exorcisms in her final days. 67 is only in her final days. उसके पहले जो preparation हुआ होगा, जो normal healing process होता है, सब कुछ होता है, वो तो बात अलग है उसका.
And in fact, यहाँ पे they haven't mentioned anything like like the other day when we were discussing on what they did during exorcism.
Yeah.
यहाँ पर सिर्फ इतना mention हुआ है कि exorcism हुआ.
Yeah. But there's still more to it.
Okay.
During these intense periods, the Washington Post reports that she would often name the demons that possessed her and even answer the exorcist's question explaining what was wrong with the church or why they were in hell. Video recordings exist of these chilling conversations that Anneliese Michel had with Alts and Rains. And very honestly, when I heard it for the first time, this is back 7 years ago, for a moment, my thing was, am I doing the right thing by researching or investigating the paranormal if this is what it leads to, when it comes to demonic possession? But yes, it's very disturbing. And Anneliese, used to, while she was possessed, she used to shout out names such as Judas, Cain, and most chillingly, Lucifer, the devil in the flesh. That's what she used to shout. And ultimately, Anneliese Michel passed away after enduring almost a year of multiple weekly exorcisms towards the end of her life, and she refused to eat, which only sped her worsening physical condition that led to her death. And when she died, she weighed less than 70 pounds, which is like मतलब आप kg में कर लो, it's like
Half.
very less,
Maybe half of
maybe
that,
half,
yeah.
almost. And it's like half, मतलब 35, like 35 kgs.
That's just bones,
Yeah,
skeleton.
for that age.
Yeah.
For that age.
That's sad.
And her cause of death was reported as malnutrition and dehydration that resulted from almost a year of semi-starvation during the rites, as reported by the Washington Post. Her parents, along with Alst and Range, were put on trial for negligent homicide, and they were ultimately found guilty of negligent manslaughter and sentenced to 6-month prison, which were suspended, and 3 years of probation. But what actually happened to Anneliese Michel, there was no conclusion about it. No one ever came to a conclusion. Was she actually possessed? Was it her mental condition? Was it the family condition that made her do it? No one knows. No one talks about Anneliese anymore. It's only the producers who are making movies on it. But there is no one who actually sits and talks about कि यार उसके साथ हुआ क्या था. And that's what I said जब मैंने शुरुआत भी की कि a lot of people have a lot of views. Investigator में भी नहीं जमता है कि नहीं उसके साथ ये हो सकता है, इसके साथ ये हो सकता है. They all have their own opinions.
Because probably in those days it wasn't that famous, that case. It got famous only after the movie,
Yeah.
right? And to be very frank, I haven't watched that movie yet.
I haven't either.
So I've seen the documentary and I've heard that audio files, and they seem pretty grotesque. However, they are transcripted in a way that we hear certain things that we want to hear.
That is visual, but this is like yours.
Yeah. So this is exactly how it is. Now there are so many other audio files also. If you transcribe them in a different way, like Jose's misheard lyrics, you can actually hear those.
I've not heard the audio files, so it's what? It's like
It's
the screeching.
It's not just screeching actually.
No,
there is
why I'm asking is that what's the difference between screeching of a painful person, a person who's in pain, who's undergoing some kind of torture, and this screeching?
There's nothing actually, only for the fact that she was a lady who जिसका voice एकदम demonic होके निकल के आ रहा है.
Matlab, yeah, demonic is what we'd like to describe it
Yeah,
as.
the
But then
voice.
afterwards, it was like a very sane-minded person who was asking a question, and after a few minutes or something like that, she's just screeching out something, and he's trying to put some meaning to that. What she's exactly trying to say, and all those things.
So audio में वैसा कुछ समझता भी
And
नहीं है.
there was
No, it's-
voice change and all in the audio.
Yeah, she's completely screeching out and speaking, and most of the times, as Sarva said, is incoherent. नहीं समझ में आता है क्या है वो.
And मतलब I don't know even how the, and probably because तब का जो recording था were not recorded properly digitally. आज की बात अलग है, तो इसलिए शायद वो audios भी ऐसे हमको सुनाई दे रहे हैं. By then the father or the priest or the one who is performing the exorcism would be मतलब वो decipher कर रहा होगा कि क्या है उसका meaning, जो कि हम लोग अभी नहीं कर पा रहे हैं. But then I'm sure अगर हमको भी उसका एक्चुअल ऑडियो फाइल, नॉट द वन ऑन यूट्यूब, क्योंकि यूट्यूब पे एक बार आया तो सब लोगों ने कॉपी कर करके डाला है. जितनी बार कॉपी होगी उतनी बार उसकी क्वालिटी फटेगी.
Yeah, and now I'm drawn to actually hear it. I've not heard it till now.
It's very actually for the people who are keen to listen to it. I'll be very honest, don't listen to it at night. क्योंकि no matter what the conclusion.
No, I will not be. I mean, being
But
an
not just you, for
Yeah.
anyone actually, because कुछ लोग होता है ना जिनको होता है कि अरे यार चलो जाके सुनते हैं क्या है.
हाँ.
It's disturbing.
It's disturbing.
More than scary, it's disturbing.
That's true, and yeah,
Something like
and for
this,
that particular reason, you shouldn't be listening to these things in the night.
Yeah.
It can tamper with your vibrations, with your sleep patterns.
Yeah, definitely. And you know, you have watched the documentary, you said.
Yeah, I've heard. I mean, I've
Like,
seen the
do you remember
documentary.
What else they say that's not mentioned here?
But then the documentary is there are several documentaries made on that. So it always comes from one particular perspective, which like example right now, how we are sitting right now over here, and this has happened like years, maybe 50 years ago. So it's very difficult to put a finger on that and say if that documentary is true, has been non-biased approach or whatever like that. So they're just open-ended. So as you said, it's right. I mean, what has happened so many years ago, we cannot actually conclude that this is it. Like it was an exorcism, it was a demonic possession, or it was a mental illness. A lot of people would like to think what they like to think with, because they come with a very biased approach. All the atheists and all the unbelievers would say that if treated differently, she would have been alive, and it was a mental illness, which I don't deny. Every possession, every demonic possession is a disease, and every disease.
मेरा भी वही है. Like when someone asks me about Anneliese Michel, my thing is के like exactly what you said, could be paranormal, could be possession, whatever. But for some reason I'm more inclined to know कि अगर तब के ज़माने में mental health को हम उतना समझ सकते, टर्म दे सकते, उसका सोर्स पकड़ सकते, तो शायद the result could have been something else.
Yeah, because mental
for
health
Anneliese Michel.
mental health चीज अब जाके it's coming into the picture. Back then,
And still there is a
nobody-
taboo, and still there is a taboo
Still,
to it.
Yeah, definitely. And back then, I think they wouldn't have even considered to look into the mental health aspect. मतलब जो भी चीजें
And
अवेलेबल
तब
थी
भी
उस
ऐसे भी होता था ना. I'm sure हम लोग तो तब नहीं थे, but then from the documentaries and the movies that we have watched back then, any sign where a person is not working, operating, behaving, staying normally is said to be possessed or a witch, or is into witchcraft or into some kind of occult.
A person who doesn't conform to society.
To the society,
Yeah,
right.
as a one line definition, correct. So उसको फटाक से डाल देते थे कि अरे ये तो deal with the devil or something.
Church नहीं आ रहा है,
हाँ.
तो probably she has been afflicted by the devil
Yeah,
and
yeah.
demon.
No, that just makes me wonder हमारा क्या होता. Not fitting into the society.
You people would have been killed actually, very honestly.
Really,
because considering तब जो होता था, that also includes Salem witch trials and the witch trials that happen right now all over the world. क्योंकि या तो कैसा होता है कि हम लोग का जो है ना, for example the two of you or the sensitive, I'm not a psychic but I'm a sensitive sometimes, we cannot stop helping out people when it comes to a situation like this. And when the moment we start helping out, कोई उधर खड़ा होगा ऐसा hat पहन के, अरे क्या कर रहा है तू, you are a witch.
Yeah, I think वही reason है ना, like I was saying the other day also that that's the reason why most of the witches have been not seen into the right light, in the right light. मतलब which नाम अगर अभी भी लो, it is only considered as negative. Now I'm not saying there weren't the negative ones, but nobody actually sees where did all of this come from. I mean, they were
Same for the superstitions also, no?
Yeah.
Superstitions जो हम लोग follow करते हैं, no one goes to find out के source क्या. I don't know if I shared this story. I remember, and this is completely on superstition. Of course, we'll come back to Michelle. Michelle नाम है ना उसका? हाँ, Anneliese Michel. हाँ. So I remember I was मामा के यहाँ पे था मैं, and it was शाम हो रही थी. So I like holding big sticks because they're very powerful and we play with it, no? So I was doing that, and in that process I was hitting the floor. ऐसे ठक 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 करके कर रहा था, एंड बीच में मामी भाग के आती है, एंड शी इज़ लाइक, अरे मत करो मत करो. आई एम लाइक वाई? नहीं अभी शाम हो गया, नहीं करते. मैंने कहा बट वाई, गिव मी अ रीज़न. तो बोली कि नहीं, मैं जब शादी करके आई तो मेरे को भाभी ने बताया, बड़ी मामी ने. आई वेंट टू बड़ी मामी एंड आई एम लाइक, मामी क्यों नहीं करते हैं? नहीं मुझे नहीं पता. मैंने कहा फिर किसको पूछूं? नहीं मामा को पूछो. फिर आई वेंट टू मामा, एस मामा क्यों करते हैं? कि नहीं पता. मैंने कहा फिर किसको पूछूं? नाना को पूछ, नाना विल नो. नाना इज 97 राइट नाउ. एंड आई वेंट टू हिम, एंड उनके सामने मैं ठोक रहा हूँ ऐसे ऐसे करके, एंड ही इज नॉट नोटिसिंग बिकॉज हैविंग हिज चाय. फिर कुछ भाई इज लाइक अरे मत कर. मैंने कहा लेकिन वाई? लाइक मत कर, बस बोलते हैं नहीं करने का तो नहीं करने का. So even he has no explanation.
no वही है कि and what was the reason?
There is no reason because no one knows. They just follow के नहीं करने का.
कुछ एक तब हुआ.
But मेरा क्या मैंने क्या उसमें फिगर आउट किया है. So basically अभी हम लोग रहते हैं that my मामा के place is like a गांव area. So शाम को क्या होता है, all kind of even छोटे छोटे जो कीड़े वगैरह reptiles वगैरह, they all enter their hole. So when we are hitting it, it's like हम उनको जगा रहे हैं, बाहर निकाल रहे हैं. लाइट नहीं होता, कुछ नहीं होता, तो बाई चांस सांप वाप भी होएगा तो वो निकल के आएगा एंड फिर सीन करेगा. दैट्स व्हाई नहीं ठोको आप जमीन पे.
That is the only plausible explanation.
जो कि मेरे को तब मिला, एंड ऑफ कोर्स आई कैन नॉट से दैट टू देम. मैं फिर भी करते करते गया, लाइक आप करो जो करना. मैं ट्रिगर करते करते गया कि कभी ना कभी तो आंसर आएगा करके. बट दिस इज व्हाट आई गॉट to figure out my theory कि यही हो सकता है, otherwise there is no other reason why. But there are so many other things, superstitions like that. And even when to come back to our topic of Anneliese Michel, तब भी कुछ ऐसा कुछ छोटा सा चीज़ होगा शायद जो कि करते करते it became to possession, it became to she squatting 400 times to her what is that word, साला word भी कैसा है, genuflections. That जो डांस में करते हो तुम लोग,
like a contortion.
But
डांस में करते हो तुम लोग.
all are possessed.
all are possessed. So all these things कहीं से कहीं से शुरुआत हुई होगी, जो कि तब के ज़माने में it was just considered as कि नहीं, you have been marked by the devil. Easy to say and easy to exercise. अच्छा हुआ तो अच्छा हुआ, नहीं हुआ तो नहीं हुआ. They never saw okay the after effect of the exorcism, because I have accounts of so many people, past accounts, where people have come out traumatized after exorcism. They become a very different person. मतलब exorcism should उनको help करता है, ठीक है वो. See, exorcism also people have to understand, exorcism is a very generic word. Of course it is majorly used when it comes to movies that involves the church performing the exorcism, but in a very layman term, exorcism is nothing but removing entity from a place or a person. That's exorcism only. जो cleansing भी हम kind of like a cleansing will be very subtle word, like कम intensity वाला. Exorcism becomes very intense because you have to put in lot of other energies, खुद की energy to do that. But इधर वन एनालिस्ट के साथ भी जब वो हुआ होगा, यू नो, एंड उसको फिगर आउट कर लिया होगा कि अरे इसका तो शी हैज बीन मार्क्ड करके, तो डायरेक्टली कूद गया एक्सोर्सिज्म के बाद. अगेन जैसे कि मैं बता रहा हूँ कि नो वन इवन ट्राई टू फिगर आउट के एक्सोर्सिज्म उस पर अच्छा इफेक्ट कर रहा है कि खराब इफेक्ट कर रहा है. बिकॉज वन ऑफ द थिंग्स, एंड डू नॉट कोट me on this, but it is said for schizophrenia patients especially, if you're playing along to the stories that they are doing, they are saying that उनका जो disease है या फिर जो चीज़ है, it will only intensify more. So if they are saying that I'm seeing a lady standing and you are saying अरे हाँ मेरे को भी दिख रहा है यार, तेरे को कैसे दिख रहा है, so it will only intensify, they'll never come out of it. So for any kind of mental disease, प्लेइंग विद द स्टोरी. एंड ऑफ कोर्स अगर उसके साथ भी हुआ होगा एंड वो उसके फैमिली मेम्बर्स ने बताया होगा कि भाई साहब चर्च को कि ऐसा ऐसा हो रहा है, चर्च ने अगर नहीं किया होगा, एंड ऑफ कोर्स नॉट टू ब्लेम द चर्च क्योंकि वो टाइमिंग भी वैसा नहीं था कि वो सोचे. आज के जमाने में अलग तरह से ऑपरेट होता है.
हाँ,
तब के जमाने में था भी नहीं, टॉपिक डिस्कस भी नहीं होता था. एंड उसने क्या क्या होगा कि हाँ अप्रूव कर दिया होगा, एक्सोर्सिज्म चालू हो गया. तो जो वो अभी हेलुसिनेट कर रही थी स्किज़ोफ्रेनिया के वजह से शायद वो देख रही थी, अभी उसका और भी बढ़ बढ़ के शी स्टार्टेड डूइंग ऑल दोस थिंग्स वेयर एक्सोर्सिज्म ऑफ एमिली रोज वाज मेड.
I think it was just a cry for help उसके basis पे, and she didn't know exactly whom to approach. It is said, I mean, when I was researching, I mean, long ago when I was researching this, it is said that she had a particular problem in the temporal lobe. It was a convulsion that was triggered by some problem in the temporal lobe. Now, temporal lobe, I mean, there are 4 lobes, like one is occipital, one is temporal, one is parietal, and one is frontal. So there are 4. Temporal lobes are responsible for language recognition, for visual recognition, for auditory recognition, and also creating new memories.
तो यहीं आ गया, आधी चीजें तो यहीं आ गई.
तो उसकी hallucination जो थी, उसको जो नज़र आ रही थी, and everything that went wrong along with her recognition, new recognition and everything came from the temporal lobe. Or she was initially, I would say, she was sick mentally, and talking in those days, I mean, you talk about the industrial revolution, उससे पहले हुआ था, nobody knew much even about the physical.
Obviously.
There was alchemy. Before chemistry, alchemy was much more famous, and a lot of people died experimenting a lot of things. Like I think it was Madame Curie who got herself radiated.
क्या था वो फिश, वो वर्ड ऐसे आते आते चला गया, रेडियम
से उसने, and then after she got herself radiated and killed herself. And thanks to her and her death, I mean, all owing up to her, everybody else got to know that this is not to be tampered with, right? So people were just experimenting at that point of time, and they were hitting some breakthroughs. जैसे कि हम भी पागल हैं, we also experiment with a lot of things. God knows where we're going to lead, and people are going to learn from us. Hopefully learn. But then that's how it was, and I see that she got ailed. I don't deny that she was possessed. She was possessed, but as I said, every ailment and every disease is possession, be it in the body, be it in the energy, in the soul realm, or be it in the spiritual or the brain level. So this was a mental illness which was fairly unknown in those ages. It was like even if you had a headache at that point of time, you would seek a witch doctor if you were not in the urban areas of life. So I mean, over here also, after they saw that यहाँ पर तो अभी सिटीज़ में वी गो फॉर सेकेंड ओपिनियंस, वहाँ पर एक ले लिया थेरेपी और वो नहीं चला, तो दी ओनली अदर रिकोर्स वुडंट बी टू गो टू अनदर पार्ट ऑफ द सिटी और टाउन, बट टू गो टू द चर्च who they thought were the most learned people of that time.
And anything unusual, as we were speaking, you know, beyond the norms, that this is how a normal human being has to be
operate.
And uske agar beyond kuch bhi jata hai, it probably was directly led to, you know, this zone.
That's right.
And but ek cheez hai that, you know, considering the things that were happening with her, after reading and knowing about so many possessions and, you know, such cases, at a personal level, I feel that hers is very close to the actual, you know, the things that she was doing.
हाँ,
जैसे
मतलब very real लगता है. Like कि ये होता है, ये हमने अभी भी देखा है, present time में भी देखा है होते हुए.
Like genuflections,
yes,
the
exactly.
contortions of the body,
or the fits.
Yeah.
किस हद तक, you know, even if the person is, I'm not definitely not denying that fact, but mental disorder अगर हो भी या जो भी है, but the things that she was doing, like, yeah, of course, the, you know, from the body, then drinking urine, eating bugs, and और क्या था, 400 squats, 600, and आपका ligament tear हो रहा है. So a person will stop at some point, but she didn't have that. Probably, I don't know if there's anything connected to the temporal lobe thing where she's not able to draw that line where you're supposed to stop.
I don't know. It started as an infection or probably the disbalance in the temporal lobe. Yeah. But then later on, when she didn't get her recognition, she didn't get that attention. Probably at that point of time, it wasn't like from the start that she would have had to eat bugs and spiders and all. And okay, having said that, people have different cuisines in different parts of the world, like Philippines and Indonesia and Thailand. People still have bugs, but they fry them and whatnot and everything and have it. The problem, the difference between that bug eating and what she did was she was eating live bugs, and she was rejecting food because of why she was like malnourished completely towards the end. It was like no nourishment at all. So she was eating bugs. And as I said right at the start, it was like her cry for help, which fell on deaf ears, or probably untrained ears. I wouldn't say deaf ears, but untrained ears at that point of time. They thought it best that, you know what, let's go to the root of the problem. Let's not solve the symptoms. Let's not have her eat food, or let's not just dialogue along with her and take her back to church and probably make her do things or whatever like that. Not bring her back to society. They decided to seclude her, isolate her, and then afterwards perform the exorcism upon her, like to solve the motivation behind which she was actually doing that. I wouldn't say that was entirely wrong, but it should have been coupled with a different therapy.
Different, yeah.
क्योंकि कैसा है ना, like I remember this case was also a point of discussion during my days of demonology with the church, and it's very famous. अब आज भी होता है. A lot of the students who are studying demonology, Anneliese Michel का case discuss नहीं हो, ऐसा हो नहीं सकता है. Of course, all thanks to the movie that got it so famous. But you know, now that you guys were talking, and I was just looking at that photo that we also coincidentally we have on our board. Like this girl, she went from like looking like this to that in her final days. And when you hear the audio files, and then you relate कि वो छोटे से शक्ल से ऐसी आवाजें आ रही हैं,
True.
is what creeps you the most.
Very shocking.
And for some reason, those audio files, they don't have videos.
No, they don't.
Only the audio files. क्योंकि तब tape recorder नहीं होगा शायद, probably with the church. Even in
Video
Conjuring
recorders.
वगैरह में, if you see, इनको संडे में काम करना है क्या? वो 4 ठोक के रुक गया वो. Conjuring में भी in the movies it has been shown that they only used to record on tape recorders, not the video recorders. Video tapes में नहीं होता था. So I think that's how the church got it. But then, you know, that's what I'm saying. भैया ने सुना है, मैंने सुना है. You know, see that शक्ल, and वो शक्ल से वो she's talking एकदम करके demonic voices आ रहे हैं.
Yeah, I will be hearing.
It is not really shocking, Sarba. I mean, because I've seen, performed exorcisms on young girls, and even for the matter, even other people also, who would speak in a very strange voice, very different from what they are. And the most logical reason for that is like we are blessed with vocal cords, and we are conserving. हम लोग ज़्यादा screech करेंगे तो हमको पता है कि हमारा गला बैठ जाएगा. Our throat will go hoarse, and the next day we will not be able to sing. Forget about anything else. We'll not be able to talk and sing in a normal voice. So we conserve our vocal cords, we conserve our body, and we know till what extent we can stretch our limbs and everything. But once possessed, once you are, and when I say possessed, I mean don't just get triggered. I'm asking all our audience also, don't get triggered by thinking of a demon with big nails and all. It's not like that. One possessed means once you are diseased. So once diseased, you want to hear disease? Yes, once diseased or once possessed by a demon, then that disease or that demon doesn't care for you. It will just use that to just scream out. It will use 2-3 vocal cords. Even a small child also may speak in a man's voice, because ultimately it's a vocal cord, it's a muscle which can be
manipulated.
Exactly till the time that it will be torn.
Yeah.
And it might bleed inside. There may be a lot of internal bleeding which will cause more complications. So that is how it happens. So if we look at this girl over here, and she has been using that, and very strategically, I think that pin is exactly upon her throat.
Oh my god, yeah.
I don't know. I mean, it's just a coincidence, but she can emulate a lot of voices like that. For example, how the mimics of today do it.
And it's
Yes, of course.
And it's what? It's called glossolalia?
No, so glossolalia is not a paranormal thing. That's an explanation of
the
how
psychology.
people who are not possessed but can also bring out those voices. Of course, for the people who are listening and you're hearing things, हमारे voice के पीछे, India is a developing country. We have no intention to interfere in the work. आज Sunday में भी वो लोग डेवलप करना चाहते हैं, अच्छी बात है, बट हम लोग अपना पॉडकास्ट भी कर रहे हैं, तो आप bear कर लो थोड़ा सा, and soon, when we get a sponsor, we will have a proper studio to record. Till then, support us, and that's how we are going to get a sponsor. So yeah, that's
yeah.
your cue.
So what I was saying is, ki, like, when you were sharing this, and yeah, the glossolalia
Yeah,
term.
fact.
So when I was kind of digging deeper into these things, glossolalia hua ya fir excited delirium hua, where they get this immense power, energy. I mean, I was just thinking that जो ह्यूमन माइंड है या फिर जो ह्यूमन एनर्जी है, it's known to be so limited, as in the person does not know what
उसके अंदर क्या होता
हाँ,
है,
what power he possesses.
what power he possesses, and to what extent it can go. So it's like, what if it is actually nothing paranormal, but that's what actually the human mind and human energy is, and it's unknown. I don't know if I'm making sense.
Yeah, you are. You're
It's
very
like
much.
that dark corner of the human mind जो कि tap in तब होता है when a situation like this is triggered.
Exactly. And हमको लगता है यार ये तो गड़बड़ है.
Right, exactly.
But actually that is
And
where,
I think the best example for what you are saying and what I was also bringing in next is Bhool Bhulaiya Part 1.
हाँ.
With Akshay Kumar, Vidya Balan. Exactly the signs and symptoms that she has, and so beautifully shown it with the touch of humor and everything. At the end it becomes serious, that's a different thing. But इतना अच्छे से दिखाया है कि अगर कोई इंसान शुरुआत से देख के वो बोलेगा इट्स अ हॉरर मूवी ओनली.
It is.
Because उसकी आंखें चेंज हो रही हैं, उसकी वॉइस चेंज हो रही है, शी इज शोइंग ऑल द साइंस ऑफ एन अटैचमेंट, and वो उसके पास पावर आ जा रहा है, शी इज फॉरगेटिंग थिंग्स. These are all signs of possession.
Exactly. And the other day, like what Savio was mentioning, that if a child is in danger, if there's a vehicle coming or if the vehicle is trying to pass over, जो हिम्मत और जो strength mother में आती है to actually lift the entire thing, where does all this come from? Unless it's already existing somewhere in the energy field of that person.
And देखो ना, मतलब I'm just trying to bring in, do you remember Bulbuliya?
Yeah, I remember the movie.
So एक point में around the second half के last में जब ये बोलता है, क्या नाम था इसका एक्टर का नाम?
Akshay Kumar, Vikram Gokhale.
नहीं गोखले.
Vikram Gokhale is the
No.
अच्छा वो आहूजा, शाइनी
आहूजा.
वो अब बोलता है विद्या बालन को कि नहीं तुम नहीं जा सकते हो शॉपिंग के लिए, ज्वेलरी के लिए. एंड शी बिकम्स वेरी एंग्री एंड शी लिफ्ट्स अ कॉट, ऐसा बेड को उठाती है एंड शी सेज कि तू मेरे को नहीं छोड़ेगा करके. बट जैसे ही वो एक झटका देता है उसको चिल्ला के एंड शी कम्स टू हर नॉर्मल कॉन्शियसनेस, शी कुडंट बेयर द बेड एनीमोर. शी लिव्स कि ये कैसे हुआ करके. So by the time we are overpowered by our other things, the demons you are mentioning about, we can do things जो कि
so that's tapping into a different frequency
of your own self.
Very true.
Yeah.
It is.
Or other way around is the demons tapping into that frequency of yours
and making you do
things.
Yeah, because that frequency is probably that frequency is something that is like kind of a veil, or like in between the two dimensions.
No, not in between the two, or if it is in between the two, it's like a box that is kept which is like free to be used. So इसलिए हम जो बोलते हैं ना कि anyone who is self possessed cannot be possessed by anything else.
So that person is already using it.
It's like we are already using it. So हमको कोई और घुस के वो कांड नहीं कर सकता है हमारे साथ.
Like suppose we are talking about food. Right, there's a certain amount of spice and pungency that we tolerate. ज़्यादा तीखा खाना अपने को नहीं पसंद है. Right, तीखा खाएंगे आपको पता है कि कुछ ना कुछ तो गड़बड़ हो जाएगी. Right, but if you talk about a possessed person, उसके सामने पूरी मिर्च रखी हुई है. All chilies in the world are kept over there. Right, I don't know, that person might eat all of it and not feel anything. Right, भले ही उसका पेट कितना भी फट जाए, उसके बाद कितनी भी एसिडिटी हो जाए, उसको कुछ लेना देना नहीं है.
वो तो आप भी कर लेते.
The demon will come only to destroy you. That is exactly how it is. We conserve ourselves.
Did you hear or missed it? वो माइक में गया. मैंने कहा वो तो आप भी कर लेते हो.
हाँ.
इधर का खा के. And now a word from our sponsor, जो कि हम ही लोग हैं. Ghost Encounters shop. Our very own shop is sponsoring this entire podcast. So if you are into paranormal merchandising, interested to flaunt a tea that is
I'm flaunting one.
yeah, she's wearing one, the star seed. So if you are into spiritual things, or if you think you are an old soul, or if you are into skulls and everything paranormal, then we have those designs on the shirts.
There will be more coming.
More coming, of course, but these are some of the best quality shirts that we have used for the merchandise. Everyone who has bought it can vouch for the quality it is. And of course, the designs, they are all channeled, downloaded, and designed by us. And the link is in the description. And back to the program.
So we will not, I mean, we conserve our body because this is our body which is given to us. So we use only that much energy that we require. मैं उतना ही काम करूंगा जितना ज़रूरत हो, उससे ज़्यादा काम करूंगा, मुझे पता है दूसरे दिन मैं नहीं कर पाऊंगा. बट व्हेन पुश कम्स टू शव, जब डेडलाइंस आती हैं, वी स्टे डे एंड नाइट, वी स्टे अवेक डे एंड नाइट, एंड वी स्ट्रेच आवर बॉडीज टू अ सर्टेन लिमिट. ऑल एथलीट्स डू दैट, राइट, अनलेस द कोच कंप्लीटली पुशेज हिम फॉरवर्ड, उसको वो एनर्जी चैनलाइज नहीं होती है. सो इन अ माइल्ड वे इट इज़ अ सॉर्ट ऑफ अ पोजेशन दैट इवन हैपेंस एट दैट पॉइंट ऑफ टाइम. दे आर पोजेस्ड बाय अ डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ एनर्जी. दे जस्ट टैप इनटू दैट, एंड एट द एंड ऑफ इट दे themselves don't realize कि आया कहाँ से. They are not able to explain how they were able to perform so spiritedly. So यहाँ पर this is a demon, this is a demonic possession. Why? Because यहाँ पर सिर्फ destruction है. And what happened with Anneliese Michel was very unfortunate that she had to go that path. She had to go that path, and nobody actually understood or diagnosed the mental illness that was there behind it. And finally, the demonic possession that was there at the end was much worse than what it could have been solved right at the start.
Correct. वही ना, मतलब अगर होता and you know अगर the right चीज़ें होती, right equipment होता, right doctors होते, right kind of लोग involved हुए होते, तो शायद you know she would have been alive now, you know, sharing her experiences somewhere on a platform like many of the survivors do. But
And along with that, like you know, an openness and open mindset to actually discuss this,
correct,
जो कि
Very
back
true.
then नहीं थी.
Yeah.
अब भी नहीं है, लेकिन it's opening up.
I guess it was a
slowly
very.
it has, thanks to
it
some
was-
of these advocates, mental health advocates who are working day and night to you know bring out the topic के बात करो, discuss करो, communicate करो, and you know, and वैसा ही होता है ना. Even when we hold these meetups, so many of these people who join for the meetups, they come and share things जो कि आज तक उनके मम्मी पापा के साथ वो लोगों ने शेयर नहीं किया है.
Yeah.
Now if those things अगर वो लोग किसी के साथ शेयर नहीं करेंगे, वो रह रहे के फियर बनेगा, फियर बन के ट्रॉमा बनेगा, एंड ट्रॉमा बन के यू आर ओपनिंग योरसेल्फ फॉर पोजेशन.
अरे the same thing was with me, no? Like even बचपन से when I was feeling things, sensing things, पहले तो मुझे ये लगता था कि सबको होता है, because I didn't know that it was something unusual or you know something that everyone is not feeling or sensing. For the longest time I felt नहीं सबको होता है, but it's only when you know somewhere in my teens and all when I started talking about it and I'm like अच्छा तुझे नहीं ये feel होता, अच्छा तुझे ये नहीं. So then I was like यार मेरे में कुछ गड़बड़ है क्या, you know. And then I went into the zone where I felt that no, I don't think anyone can understand me, and I never spoke about it.
Yeah.
Because every time I tried to speak about it, it was like I was not shut or hushed, but I was not understood.
You've heard Pink Floyd's "Another Brick in the Wall." That is one song that you should be hearing. Everyone, for that matter.
वो याद है हम लोग आई थिंक कल सुबह मैं लोगन का पॉडकास्ट लगाया था. सो लोगन पॉल इज एन इन्फ्लुएंसर. I watch his podcast Impulsive करके amazing podcast series. So he has this Pink Floyd का t-shirt and he
there was
Pink
something
Floyd का
about
t-shirt and he's like you know I love this t-shirt but I have not heard any song of Pink Floyd, so I'm just waiting for the day कि कोई लड़की आके पूछेगी name one song of Pink Floyd. So this one song जो कि मैंने song याद नहीं किया है but song का title याद रखा है, and that song is Another Brick in the Wall.
Brick in the Wall. Because it says, the song says that we don't need no education. Why? Because education in those days, even now also for that matter, is flawed. We don't need no thought control, no dark sarcasm in the classroom, right? Teachers leave us kids alone. Because all in all, you're just another brick in the wall. Because you're just isolating me. You're not helping me be open with people. And that is exactly what happened to you, to a lot of people who are rejected for their psychic senses, abilities right now.
Many. And in our gets, in the meetups, when these people come in, and there are so many who later have, you know, when they have communicated with us, or when I have spoken to them personally, they are like, this is the first time we have actually spoken our truth.
Yeah. Correct. Very true.
And we are the crazy lot.
Crazy lot. Actually.
But you know what? I mean, just even coming back to the dissection is like, I really don't blame those priests and the system that was prevalent at that point of time. You cannot just expressly go and say that that was wrong.
Correct.
Because in hindsight, in retrospect, everybody is wise. So अगर हम आज देखते हैं तो ऐसा लगेगा कि नहीं, उसके साथ जो हुआ था गलत हुआ था. Will those same people see that even today also there is a lot of wrong that's happening in society? And they are still driven by WhatsApp forwards.
Yeah.
They're still believing all those things and all the stupid logic that is thrown around, right? जब दूसरे के ऊपर उंगली उठानी है तो बहुत आसानी से उठ जाती है. But when you question their own beliefs, they will say नहीं, लेकिन our truth is the truth, others' truth is not the truth.
Very true actually, and you know, for that matter, I am a firm believer personally कि how can I comment on something जिधर मैं था ही नहीं.
Very true.
Of course, we are investigators. That's a different job. What we can do is we can take inspiration, knowledge, facts, and the result of doing a certain way of exorcism and not repeat it in our work. But apart from that, we are not the right ones. Like कल को अगर Anneliese Michel का कोई भी दूर के रिश्तेदार है एंड ये पॉडकास्ट देख रहा है, उनको ये नहीं लगना चाहिए कि अरे ये बैठ के हमारी फैमिली की बेइज्जती कर रहा है. We are not doing it, very honestly.
And honestly, अगर आप उस, you know, if you like put yourself in their shoes at that point of time, probably this was the best that they could think of to help her out.
Correct.
Yeah, I mean, see, right now in the three of us, I know carpentry, right? So if at all there is certain things to be done, you will fall back on me, right? And you will ask me what to do. For that matter, even driving also, for that matter, you will ask me what to do. Now, in a certain situation, I might not be the best carpenter to tell you anything about it. But since in the three of us, I know carpentry the most.
Exactly.
So you will ask me
Correct.
first. And if I act like a know-it-all at that point of time, and if I say this case goes out of my hand, then meri बेइज्जती होगी. So I better give an answer and say, no, यही है. This is the gospel truth that you have to listen to. Right? You will listen to it. भले ही उसके आगे जाके सीन हो गया. So वो time पे the most learned people who used to go through the 8 years of education, compulsory education, were the priests of that time. So these people thought that the most learned people in the whole world who will understand not just medical science but also a lot of things, because every Sunday and every day they dish out sermons and advices to people. They've been bestowed with some power by God, whichever God you want to talk about, everywhere. So they approached them first, and then afterwards what happened over there was those people didn't let go of that case.
I would like to ask, like, you know, the two of you, both of you being exorcists, I would like to ask you, how much sense does it make to do 67 exorcisms? I mean, isn't there a line where you're like, nahi, iske beyond we need to stop?
And maybe think something else.
Something else, because अगर 10 बार नहीं काम किया है तो क्या वो है, you know, also doing the same things again and again is not going to give you a different result. Also from I'm just saying completely not from my methods or even for the matter Savio's method of exorcism, but the method that normally priests use. It's like अगर आप 67 बार जो हुआ ना, ऐसा नहीं कि 67 parts में हुआ है. It is the same thing that is repeated 67 times. मैं वही बोल रही हूँ.
It's the same thing, same book, same procedure, same dowsing. मैं इसीलिए पूछ रही हूँ. Everything.
That वही तो मैं पूछ रही हूँ. That how, I mean 10 times or 15
लिख
times.
भी कौन रहा था? ये एक हो गया, ये दो हो गया. नहीं, actually it's church. They have to keep a count के कितना exorcism होता है. That's how they know कि 67 है. But I'm getting you. We are getting you के how 67 exorcisms on a person who is just in her teens, in her late teens, I think 20
I think 5 बार में पता चल जाना चाहिए था कि 5 बार अगर कोई चीज वर्क नहीं करी, आप वापस वो चीज रिपीट करोगे तो there's a very,
but you know what
possibility.
the reason behind that is again उनका भी fault नहीं है of repeating, because उनके हिसाब से कैसा होता है ना, from their point of view they believe that every time they're performing an exorcism the devil, उनका word I'm saying,
is being hit.
वो हिट हो रहा है, मतलब वो उसकी पावर कम रही है, उसकी पावर कम रही है, वो बिलीव के साथ रिपीट करते जाते हैं कि कभी ना कभी तो दे विल ब्रेक दैट लाइन where they overpower the devil, and that's how the exorcism will be sorted. You know, that's why the repetition keeps on happening. So that's why even in my demonology courses classes I was said कि जब तक नहीं होता you have to do it. You can take, I remember there was a case where this girl was exorcised for 8 years or something. 8 years kept in a church. She survived 8 साल के बाद, but when the exorcism, it is some 1800 या तो 1800 नहीं तो 16th century 17th century की बात है. The lady survived, but when she came out of the exorcism, her ribcage was broken, her ligaments were gone.
That was the after effect of exorcism.
It said that the demons, when they were leaving her, they were damaging a part of her and leaving.
Ouch.
And they were, all kind of demons that were possessing. It took more than just a couple of years to exorcise.
Very difficult to believe all those things,
Yeah,
actually.
Because matlab, for the longest time I have been saying this, that nothing can enter your body. Nothing can enter your body. It's like, unless something actually enters your body, how would it come out breaking the rib cage?
Nahin. So this is where the thing is. For a bomb ka wave to hit you, it did not go
the
inside
impact.
your body.
You mean the impact?
The impact does it. So it's not the bomb that is killing you. Of course, if you're standing on the bomb, the fire and the छोटे-छोटे पत्थर जो उससे निकलते हैं, whatever you call them, that will of course pierce and kill you. But more than that, it is the wave that throws you apart.
See, my theory about possessions, for that matter, and every disease for that matter, is disease can happen in your body. So if there is a virus or a bacteria that is getting in your body, or any contagion for that matter, it is entering your body. Why? Because the body is very physical in nature. So things can enter inside. Like, for example, a snake bite and a venom. It enters your body and it paralyzes you, or even kills you for that matter. So something enters your body. But something that doesn't has a locale in your body, like for example the mind doesn't has a locale. The brain does, but the mind doesn't. How can something just enter your body at that point of time? So these demonic possessions start on the mind, but ultimately will enter your body through the energy that we are having.
Yes. It's like any normal disease कि वो पूरा travel करके, it travels through the mental body, through the emotional
And that's
body,
the final stage.
and finally it affects the physical body
and the merging,
as whatever form of disease.
No, not necessarily always the physical body. Towards the end, it might be that even depression is a demon. Is a demon. Wherein a very physically fit person might think that there is nothing left for him or her and might just give up.
नहीं, and वो जैसे depression में भी it may come to the physical, where the person is probably not wanting to eat, and then affecting the person physically, showing the symptoms in the physical, not directly, but I mean, like an indirect manifestation in the physical body.
These are still the manifestations of a demon in the motivational level of the spirit. But once you get into the memory part of it, your entire memory is tampered with, and that is where schizophrenia and amnesia and all these things, bipolar comes. Because right now the person doesn't has a clear memory of who or what she is or he is, and starts thinking that, like in Anneliese Michel's case, that I am Lucifer and I'm Judas and I'm Cain, because Cain murdered his kin. They might have seen some signs of that in her, and she said, okay, fine, she's possessed by Cain. And then after she gave out Judas again is known for betrayal. Right, so she might have lied about a certain things and probably given, say, what false witness about her parents and all, and they said, okay, fine, she's got the spirit of Judas in her, and Lucifer again, the chief of all. And again, it's like I mean, this all comes from the Catholic what is that called? Doctrine. Right, because she wasn't born in India. If she was born in India, then she would have said something on कुछ नाम कुछ और होते हैं, लेकिन on the same lines.
Correct.
Not to comment on her possession, but saying Rahul ने मेरे को possess किया है. It's a bit funny.
Oh my God! Oh God! कहाँ पहुँच गया?
India में होता था. That's what I'm saying.
वो attachments होते हैं.
Exactly. For some people it's possession. Huh?
Oh yes.
It's possession for some people.
But yeah, you know, for these people who are very interested to know more about the paranormal and the investigations that we do and the things that we teach, ये तो हम लोग बस बात कर रहे हैं. But at our Ghost Encounters tours, we teach interested people on how to conduct an investigation, how you can protect yourself from negative entities, how you can get information from rocks, water, trees, everything that is found in nature
In a very scientific
in a
manner.
very scientific manner. And we take you to haunted places to experience the paranormal. And I think anyone who is interested to know more, learn more, I think you should be attending Ghost Encounters tours. It's our tours that we conduct, and we take people to some of the most haunted locations of the country, but you experience it in ways safer than you can imagine. क्योंकि ऐसे आप निकल जाओगे दोस्तों के साथ, पक्का अटैचमेंट लेके आओगे, फिर आप हमको मैसेज करोगे कि अरे हम गए थे यहाँ पे, हमारे साथ यह हो रहा है, क्या हो रहा है, जो भी है. बट इफ़ यू आर कमिंग विथ अस, you not only learn, but you also experience, you also get to live कि paranormal investigators क्या करते हैं on the field. And I think that's Ghost Encounters tours. But I think that's it for Anneliese Michel. और कुछ नहीं है हमारे बात करने के लिए. I think that's it for this episode. एंड अगर आपने यहाँ तक देख लिया है तो प्लीज़ डू लाइक, प्लीज़ डू सब्सक्राइब. अगर गाना में हो तो आई थिंक उधर भी एक हार्ट का ऑप्शन होता है. स्पॉटिफाई में है तो वहाँ पे भी हार्ट का ऑप्शन होता है. आप जितना स्ट्रीम करोगे, आई थिंक दैट्स द मोस्ट बेस्ट वे यू कैन सपोर्ट टू अस. अपार्ट फ्रॉम एनीवन ऑफ यू हू इज लुकिंग टू स्पॉन्सर अस, प्लीज़ डू इट. We are open.
The most easiest way would be, purchase our merch.
Yeah. And so yeah, that's it for tonight's episode. If you are watching it at night, have a good night. If you are watching then may have a great day. And this is Sarbajit signing off. Bye.
Signing off.
Savio also signing off.
Bye.